Ahoy, hoy, friends, salons and tribble-ations to us all. Welcome to the salon. Welcome to our speakers. Welcome to our audience friends. How you doing in the chat? How you speakers doing?
Good.
More
Already
drunk. Every week.
Yeah. Good.
Already drunk.
Love it. Makes it exciting.
Par for the course.
Will, how was your birthday yesterday? Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you so much. It was fine. It was a very long ass day. I had to work, but it's good. And I have fun stuff planned this weekend, so it'll all be good.
Yay.
Amazing.
And thank you everyone for your birthday wishes. You're all lovely people. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday.
There was a disturbing lack of dicks in my DM, so that's something. People.
Everybody search a dick and send it to Will, please, at Praise Cheeses.
Thank you so much.
On Twitter.
What, is that a special request, Will?
On all platforms.
Any dick will do. It doesn't have to be your own. And in fact, probably shouldn't be.
I mean, if it's good, why not?
For science.
For science. All right. Well, this is already turned to a weird place already. That must be a world record.
I think we got there sooner another time, but
yeah.
There we go. There it is.
I'm sure we started with that at one point.
Birthday edition, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, welcome. It is the season 5 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine Thumb War Salon. You know the drill by now, but we're going to get into it more fully. But before we do, we, of course, must pay attention to what Ken is waving at us about and saluting us about.
Season 5.
All right. I thought you were raising your hand to ask a question.
No. Just season 5. Counting.
No.
Just counting.
And with a count, with a count reference there from Sesame Street. That's adorable. Thank you, Ken. Our good friends over at Sesame Street and Dick's and Will's DMs. This is quite
the it all comes together. Come and play. Everything's a-okay. Everyone goes.
We're gonna set an intention now and turn it over to Trevor to do so. Jesus.
Jesus.
Don't I get my intro?
Oh, I'm sorry that
I only know how to set an intention with an intro.
Oh God.
I don't know how we're off the rails already, but I blame the lack of dicks and Will's DMs.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I feel you, sister. There aren't any dicks in my DMs either, but there shouldn't be. So, in honor of, or in sort of perhaps resentment of Valentine's Day, I thought a fun intention setter would be, what is your Trek couple that never actually coupled? And you can just get ready, Stan, because mine is problematic because it's very selfish. It's just Ash Tyler and Gen Reese. I would like to watch that.
just watch it, not be happy for them. I just want to watch it. All
no,
right.
I don't give a. I don't care if they like it. I'm gonna like it. Let's go. Girl, I can't set an intention and keep track of my own.
I mean, I don't care if they like it. I'm gonna like it is definitely a problematic gay alert.
It's fine. Everything's fine. We're gonna go around the room. God damn it. Let's start with Will in honor of his birthday.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a good question. I might be stealing Stan's, but it would be Trip and Archer. Them shirtless running around sweaty in the desert. Needed that.
That was Sohail. But yes.
Oh, it was Sohail? Oh, I thought it was Stan. No, never mind. But yeah, I'll steal it, Sohail. I don't know if he's in the chat, but I'm stealing it. Yeah, it would have been that. That desert episode really did it for me as like a 14-year-old. So
yes.
I totally understand.
That was
Joanne.
it. Avery Brooks and her.
I didn't know that was an option.
I thought it was. It shouldn't be for this because it's just an understood that that's the Trek couple that should have coupled and hasn't.
I mean,
Exactly.
absolutely. That's the default, right? No, for me, it's Pulaski and Worf. You know,
Ooh.
then with the tea was very hot, I thought. So,
It was.
yeah.
Good tea, nice house. Look at you. All right, moving on. Ken.
Well, so the original one that everyone really wanted and wanted badly back in the 60s and 70s was Kirk and Spock. And I think we actually saw that come to fruition in the animated series. Look it up. You know, I think that although we didn't see it in the Prime timeline, we did see it in the Kelvin timeline quite a lot. But I would have liked to have seen more in the Prime timeline of Spock and Uhura. So
I'll allow it. Krista?
I'm going to be problematic, but
Go
not
for
in
it.
a gay way. I wanted Ducat and Kira. Yeah.
That's a make Stan's face all wrinkly alert.
Like I just
Which has not been
gagged
a thing
all
until
of
now.
all of you. I just gagged all of you collectively. But if we're going to go the Joanne route as a default, I would go Pike and me.
Fair.
Yes, that I can respect. I mean, up until this point, I can understand a potential Kira Ducat. Like, I see where you're coming from. Up until this season, though, like this season really turns it.
And most definitely into 6th season, it doesn't work. But I'm still really salty about Indiscretion being about a love child instead of they're having an indiscretion in a cave.
Because it's got to be a cave.
Because it's got to be a cave. Because it's dirty. It's dirty. It's shameful. It has no light. There's a lot of dust.
Been there, girl.
Do it.
Stop it! You're turning me on.
This is
yes.
Yeah, I'm a virgin. Let's do it that way. Yeah.
All right, fearless leader. Couple of words.
I have struggled with this question, so I'm just gonna be a little basic and say Kira and Jadzia. Like, let's really lean into it those first couple of seasons, and then it doesn't work out, and then they end up with who they end up with, and
I like it.
fun. It ends up being fun along the way. And Trevor, who did you say with Reese?
Ash Tyler.
Ash Tyler. Yeah, I'm writing them down. So.
Oh, so to use against me later, or
against everyone. No, also just I might be making notes for clips later.
Please don't sneak up behind me with a sign if I'm standing in the autograph line for Patrick Kwok-chun or Shazad Latif.
Yeah, just the two of them taped together. Like, this is what this is the future Trevor wants.
Stand behind me with and it has thought bubbles, and that's the image in the thought bubble. I don't know why I'm helping you. Anyway, I'm going to stop.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, we're going to make it happen now. Good intentions, everybody. There should be more romance and less problematic romance on Star Trek. Let's hope for more in the future. That was fun. Good intentions, Setter Trevor. Thank you very much. Well then, it's that time. It is season 5 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It is time for a thumb war. You know the drill by now, in case anybody else is new, including Walter. Hi, Walter. Candy is being
Walter.
very calm under the table, so I won't put her on screen just yet. I'm enjoying that. But the Thumb War, for those who may be uninitiated yet, we are going to go through each episode. Trevor is going to read a synopsis that he did not write. It may be good, it may be bad. Who's to say? Each week seems to be a fun new surprise. Some episodes we'll discuss. Other ones we won't. It's about half and half this week. We just want to keep this moving, keep it under 2 hours. We want to talk about episodes that have some deeper character growth or more growth for the show overall. And so many of the episodes that we won't discuss in full, there's nothing wrong with them. They may or may not be a thumbs up or a thumbs down for us. We'll still vote on them. But we don't want to take, we want to keep time for some other episodes to get everybody's thoughts. And as always, we hope everybody is very active in the chat, letting us know what you thought of the episodes. Give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, why you think that, and we'll try and throw up some of those comments onto the screen as well. So with that, let's get into it, Trevor.
Okay, I'm very excited because there's an episode in here that has quite possibly the worst Google description ever, and I'm very jazzed about it. You'll know when we get there. Season 5, Episode 1, Apocalypse Rising. Cisco and his crew masquerade as Klingons to expose a changeling who has incited a war, no he hasn't, between the Federation and the Klingon Empire. I mean, sort of, a little bit. So anyway, it's Klingon makeup for people that don't normally wear it. It's Colin Meaney looking very grouchy and being very grouchy because he was miserable in the makeup. It's everything that you ever wanted from Cisco as a Klingon and more. Looking at you, Joanne. He's kind of delicious even as a Klingon. Like, I don't understand how that happens. But yes, they travel to a Klingon world in an attempt to expose a changeling infiltrator. What did y'all think? I have some thoughts that I'll keep to myself because I don't want to editorialize too much already.
Let's go in reverse order on the screen. We'll start with Krista, then Ken, Joanne, Will, then Trev.
I'm going to be honest. The first 6 episodes I kind of slept through, but this one made me laugh because they were all configured like Klingons, but they continued to stick to each other like glue. And they were very obvious about everything that they were doing. And I just thought it was kind of, ridiculous, but I did like that it was the more of a introduction of Martok and bringing him into the fold because I like his general vibe, and so I was happy to see that. But honestly, I sort of slept through this one a little bit. Sorry, not sorry.
So this was an interesting season premiere. It was actually supposed to be a 2-parter. It was broken as a 2-parter, and then the studio said no, 1 part, which is why it has a little bit of weird pacing, especially in the second half of the episode. So I liked it. I thought it was interesting to get the characters, into Klingon makeup. What's interesting is also that you would have thought that Gowron would have recognized Worf sooner, because Gowron had a lot of interactions with Worf, certainly during The Next Generation. It was also cool to bring Gowron in, and again, carrying that thread forward from The Next Generation. I also noticed, it was very clear that Colin Meaney was just not happy. But I also thought that Odo, and here we see Odo now unable to shapeshift. Odo has lost his powers because apparently he encountered a Peruvian dodo bird and he lost his powers. And so that's what happens. A Bewitched reference for those of you too. So it was interesting to see all that and to see how Odo was the one who figured it all out. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good episode for a season premiere.
So it's one of my favorites. This whole season, this is kind of the first episode of a lot of where the titles or the themes are kind of heavily religiously coded, and motifs, and particularly, I thought it was nice. Apocalypse Rising, and there were four of them, kind of the four riders of the apocalypse. And, they begin to kind of unpack these themes. But I think Gowron, I agree with Joel, maybe Gowron, those funny color eyes, maybe he can't see that well, or with Worf's hair down, he's just lost, because he just looks extra hot with the hair down. And of course, yeah, Cisco hotness moving all times. So this was exciting for me, although it took me out of the fantasy a little bit, because Odo's makeup was so bad. Like, did he just not want to do it, and they were just like, fuck you, just slap it on or whatever, bitch, because you're being, a bitch about it. But so it kind of startled me for a minute, but one of my favorites. And again, when Cisco does that whole scene with him, trying to explain to O'Brien about how Klingons talk, or was it Odo? I don't remember, but it didn't matter, because it was just like, ugh, he should have been a Klingon. And I think this probably started my fantasy for like the Klingon Game of Thrones, because can't you see it? Can't you see it? Like, yeah. So loved it.
This episode's kind of funny because it's kind of pulpy and fun. Oh, we're in disguise, infiltrating, the Klingons, and like everything that's kind of going on with them. And as the series like moves out of the kind of Cold War that's happening with Dominion to almost like outright war, it does feel very strange because there's this very sinister undertone to this kind of fun antics that are happening with people, whenever we have our lead characters in different makeup or costumes or something, and they're kind of fish out of water. That's always fun. I think in the context of the series, I think this might be one of the weaker openings for the seasons. I don't quite understand what, I guess now, like, I'm like coming to from like a modern perspective on television. There's like the season premiere and the season finale are always generally like the strongest episodes. There's normally like a cliffhanger, or this starts off something. There's like a build that happens. And for DS9, for some reason, I feel like the season finales and the season premieres are kind of almost discarded, that the meat of the season is really in the interior of the season and not kind of on the edges. So I don't know, just an observation. But yeah, it was fun anyway. But an interesting episode to start a season with for sure.
Beginning to recognize the theme from Will's perspective is more meat. We just need more meat. This episode for me, I enjoy it, but I don't. It doesn't feel that impactful. It doesn't feel. I don't know. For me, it's fun every once in a while, but it's 45 minutes or 42 minutes of. I don't know. Like, I can't tell if it's trying to be serious or trying to be funny or trying to be both. But I do think a huge missed opportunity was doing this episode. I realized that Odo had to lose his abilities in order to get the message from the link in order for this episode to happen. But it would have been a really fun bit to have Odo's face constantly changing throughout the episode, because he couldn't hold a Klingon face. That would have just been hilarious and awkward and room for zany antics. But overall, yeah, I found it fun, but it's not one that I revisit frequently. But I agree with kind of all of Joanne's positive points, but I also agree with Krista's negatives in terms of it being sort of like, what exactly are we doing right now?
Pick a side, bitch.
I can't. I will at some point, but on this one,
Carrot Top.
All right, let's see those thumbs. Apocalypse Rising.
it is a sideways.
All right. Episode 2, The Ship.
Episode 2, The Ship. Stop doing my part. Upon finding a crashed Jem'Hadar warship, did they find it or did it land right in front of them? Cisco and Avorta spar over control over the vessel and learn their mutual distrust has mortal consequences. Whoa.
And this is one we're going to breeze through. It was the 100th episode of the season or series. They made a big to-do of it on TV, at least where I was. And then it existed. So let's see those thumbs.
It happened. Oh,
And I think it's a thumbs up, just not worthy of.
It was
discussion
nice
when we
to
have so
see a
many.
female Vorta.
Yes.
She was just as the Vortas for me are like mirror universe Randy Rainbows. They're all like very they're all very campy. They're a bunch of just snarky queens. I love them. Love them. That's
And
it.
Tex Trek did a great interview with the actor who plays her. I don't remember her name, but it's great. Go find it.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh.
It was a good episode. I loved how they showed the character who was dying, and they really the interaction between O'Brien and Munez, I think the name was character.
Mm-hmm.
It was very interesting, and it was well done.
It was indeed. It was a sad. There were sad moments. Anyway, moving on. We're not sad anymore. Episode 3. Looking for Parmach in all the wrong places. Worf shows a smitten Quark the ways of Klingon courtship when Quark wants to rekindle a romance with his ex-wife Grilka, even though Worf has fallen in love with her. That is quite possibly one of the best episode descriptions that Google has ever provided us, and it's also one of the most sitcom-y episodes of DS9 or all of Star Trek, and it's weird and it feels like Three's Company, and I've revealed what I think of it, so I'm going to stop now.
Show of hands if you have thoughts on this episode that you would like to share. We can cue them up. So those count as thoughts, Will, but let's go to Joanne first.
Mine's really quick. It just made me very angry that Worf disrespected Kalar by saying he's never been with the Klingon woman just because she has human origin. Do not discount her Klingonness. Fuck you, Worf. That made me so angry. Also, I'm going to say something very controversial yet brave. I am not into Jadzia and Worf, so be prepared.
Thank you. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That is correct. Now, I'm a known Worf hater, so no surprise. I agree with you. I don't love women characters being plot devices for male characters, and Worf just is not interesting until Picard season 3 without a love interest making him interesting. And I'll just put this up again.
Justice
Again,
Regular.
this is in universe. Michael Dorn's great, but fuck Worf. And Kalar forever. All right, let's see those thumbs. Although Grilka's great.
I love me some Grilka, but come on now. Episode 4, Nor the Battle to the Strong. When Bashir and Jake answer a plea from a colony besieged by Klingons, Jake's naive idea of a good story is shattered by the reality of fear and cowardice. Again, an awkwardly good description of the episode. I think it's some of Sirach's best work, but it's in a not great episode. Other thoughts, feelings?
I agree with you. I think it's an interesting swing, but overall just kind of a miss. I think that for some reason the production value on this episode was like they had the collected change in all their pockets to produce this episode. Like normally we know Star Trek's done on like shoestring budget back in the day, but this was like just the little dinky explosions in the sand, like knowing that they're like, it would have been better if you felt the terror that was there visually. It just didn't match kind of the premises there. The execution was really lacking for me on this one. But I agree with Sirach. It's some of his best work, but unfortunately that's not a deep well to pull from.
And on the production value side, we need a hospital on a war-torn planet. Quick, put it in a cave. That was weird.
Yeah.
And
Then
then,
then just running across Griffith Park.
from like a bad B movie. They all was like, copper, see, they all sounded like that. And I didn't understand it. But I'm like, I thought it was going to be great because, again, the title's great. One of my favorite biblical texts. And the finish of it is the race isn't given to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but to the one who endures until the end. So it's like, he who finishes wins, I guess. But yeah, it was
Another
terrible.
bit of another bit of background here with Sirach is he had just turned 18 recently, so they decided that they were going to give him a episode that was very heavily featured because before he was 18, by rules, union rules, he couldn't do very much. But now when he was no longer a minor, they could. So they awarded him with this episode in a lot of ways. So I agree. I think it was some of his best work. But that's really the only standout to me that this episode has.
It was also super weird that they decided to make an episode about how brutal and the toll that war has played on everyone, and the war's been going on for like a month. Like if this had happened in like late season 6, it might have been a little bit more interesting, but instead it's like all of these war, field medics that are just beat down, and it's like, you've been here like 3 weeks. Like, what do you like? I don't understand. Anyway, thumbs. Tis a sideways. Okay, I'm gonna contain my excitement. Episode 5, The Assignment. O'Brien is forced to secretly alter equipment by an entity that has taken over Keiko's body and threatens to kill her if he refuses. Y'all talk first.
Rosalind Chow served. Like, literally, I think I fell asleep during the ship, and I woke up to the assignment, and I was like, this A plot doesn't match this B plot at all. I was completely confused. I had no idea that there were 2 episodes in between. It like didn't occur to me. But Rosalind Chow serving, dominatrix, bitch, cunt. I mean, she was like, just fuck you, dude. Do what I tell you to do. And she was doing it so well that I was like, I really would like Keiko to be meaner. Like, I was like, I almost like this Keiko better. And it was just when she had the fit in the hallway and just the whole thing. It was like, it was Keiko all day. I was good with it.
Miles was into it a little bit at first too.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So good.
This episode made me sad that we never saw Mirror Keiko.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Because
I
that's
think we got a little sliver of what that would have been like. Yeah. And I can't get enough of this one. I absolutely love it. It's like a spy fiction, but with a non-corporeal entity. And everything you said about Rosalind is accurate, but it's also like, let's give Rosalind like anything and everything she could possibly want to do, and she did it. And to your earlier, to borrow your phrase, she just slayed.
She did. She was awesome.
This is my second favorite episode. My favorite is coming later in this season, so we'll talk about it tonight. I love this episode. I wish we got more of Keiko. It is a huge red flag for me when someone says they don't like Keiko, because you are wrong. You are wrong. She was so great.
Just the range of the actress,
yes,
because just the range on display was just, it was like floored, just floored.
Yeah. And this episode had some fun pieces. We got some world building with how the engineering department works on the station, with a briefing from Miles. We got Rom getting some character development. We start learning about how his relationship is going, or his current in this episode, his friendship with Lita is blossoming. So lots of fun stuff on the horizon that gets touched on in this episode, on top of the fun that's happening. And it's also world building for Bajor without any Bajorans being part of it, which is a fun little treat.
The only problem I had with this episode, I agree with you that it was all fantastic, and Keiko Rosalind is really good. Is Keiko had been taken over also in the Next Generation by an incorporeal entity, and I thought that there was a little bit of a, I think she did.
No,
Miles was.
No, it was Miles.
All right.
Miles.
Then I
Take
was-
his Trekkie card away.
Because she gives
dude.
birth. Worf delivers the baby.
Red alert, dude. She gave birth.
Yeah, she wasn't.
Red
It was
alert.
Miles. Who
That's
was.
all right. I never liked the Next Generation anyway. So, okay.
All right, just
Oh.
bookmarking that.
Wow.
Just keep digging. Just keep digging.
Yeah.
Put the shovel down, Ken. All right, everybody, show me your thumbs, or I'm going to kill your wives.
I think it's a thumbs down. No, okay, thumbs up.
Rolling right into an equally deep and powerful episode. I'm kidding. Trials and Tribble-ations. A Klingon spy takes the Defiant back in time to plant an exploding Tribble on the original Starship Enterprise. The crew must stop the fiendish plot while not arousing the suspicions of the original Enterprise crew.
And for time, we're going to skip this one. I'm just kidding. We're clearly going to talk about it. And
Why are you trying to start a bell riot?
Ken, why don't you kick us off for this episode?
So this was celebrating the 25th. No, not the 25th. This was an anniversary episode celebrating the 30th anniversary of the series, of the original series. It was matched up, of course, with the Captain Sulu episode on Voyager. And what was interesting about this episode is this was the most expensive episode of Deep Space Nine that they really ever did. The studios gave them an additional $200,000 to shoot this episode, so they had a ton of money, and they were super excited about it. It did not live up to Paramount's ratings success that they were hoping for, but it still became a classic in a lot of Star Trek's people's hearts, including mine. I thought it was very, very well done. The only thing that I really think that they could have gone further with is if they used some of the original music from the Trouble with Tribbles. That would have been great. The fact that they replaced the fight music with modern music instead of using the fight music from the Trouble with Tribbles, that would have been fantastic. And I just loved how Worf's activities in this. I know we've got Worf haters and but I loved his "they are Klingons" and it's a long story. So I liked it all around. I thought it was really good. I'm glad that they got the original actor back to play the spy. And I thought they did a pretty good job. And I do have a note. I have a note from our friend Matt, who, of course, the Department of Temporal Investigations was created for this episode. He said, "Please let everyone know that on behalf of DTI, I object to ever meeting famous captains." And that's from our buddy Matt. So that's his comment.
No, that's wrong. That's so wrong.
It was better than the other one that was exclusively designed for Matt.
Yeah, I just didn't
Right.
see
There's
it.
another banner there that could have happened, but
I love this episode. I love the color of this episode. I loved the callbacks to everything. The flip communicator. I think that the whole they are Klingons and it's a long story and they're dressed up like Russians. I was like, this is just, it's so genius. And it was so seamless the way it all worked together. And they were fangirling over Kirk. And I love that Odo, got in touch with his I want to be a pet owner. He just loved the Tribble. I will say that I think that yeah, exactly. Jadzia being so excited about it. And I mean, if you can't put a 6-foot woman in that outfit, you're doing it wrong. And that said, I will also say that this, for me, was the episode that sort of kicked off possibly her, in lieu of Nana Visitor being available, because she was pregnant and she's in the pregnant storyline. I think this was when possibly things got to be a little exploitative, I will say, with the actress, where the origins of those problems may have started to really come to the foreground during this season. I think best thing that ever happened to Rick Berman was Nana Visitor's pregnancy, because then it was a built-in excuse to sort of play up Jadzia, play up the legs, play up the bathing suit, play up all of that. And then they introduced, Tits McGee with Lita. And it's like, she's great and all, but I mean, really, I'm looking at a really luscious pair of boobs. I'm not exactly paying attention. And also, unpopular opinion, can I also say that the hair, I don't know, it's like 9 parts bad hair color, 1 part rat's nest. I don't quite know what's happening.
You've moved into 6 different topics. Whose hair are you talking about?
Sorry. I just went on a stream. But for me, this was the season where it became, where I am not surprised that Terry Farrell decided to leave. I can see where it's coming from, just in the subtleties of it.
Will, your thoughts on Trials and Tribble-ations?
It's cute. It's such a fun episode. It's kind of a technical marvel. I remember there being like a little behind the scenes featurette thing that went with this episode when I saw it, where they talked about how they recreated this, and then looking into like the attention to detail, like they found the original costumes and made patterns from them, and like found the original materials and like the same makeup. So there's like an attention to detail here that like honestly like only money can buy. So it that like, the show doesn't really get in a lot of instances. It's like, we got to do this quick and dirty and cheap as possible, and they kind of got a moment to really kind of flex their muscle. So it's a fun episode. Yeah, I think it's a fun rewatch for sure. But I love the idea of like how they seamlessly put Sisko in a scene with William Shatner, Kirk from the 60s, is like, even watching it now, it seems so quaint now to have that happen, but it even still looks good. So kudos to them for that. It's fun. It's cute.
Joanne, did you have thoughts on this one?
No, other than I did like that shot where, like you say, he was talking to Kirk, because the way it was framed, Uhura is staring at Cisco like so intently, and she was like, "Who is this?" But so that would have been delightful. But it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, this was super cute. Had some fun stuff in it. Jadzia being smart and calculating the number of tribbles, fangirling over Spock and McCoy in the same episode, and giving us a little bit of her backstory with Emily. It's exciting. Trevor, were you going to say something before we vote?
Just that I love an episode in an episode. I know it upsets our friends at DTI, but it's fun for me.
All right, well, let's see those fun thumbs.
While we're voting, one thing that just to comment is they rebuilt a small part of the bridge of the original show. And that was a big deal. that they spent all that money building a small part of the bridge. Then you flash forward to Picard season 3, where they rebuild the entire bridge of the D. It's interesting.
Wait, they did?
Now the entire change. Yeah.
Not like they don't
Spoiler
tell us
alert.
about it on Twitter every day.
Yeah.
Well, what else?
Y'all
is
are
there?
y'all are
It's been almost
amazing.
a year,
It's-
Diva.
Yeah.
Give up the
Y'all-
ghost.
Y'all are great.
Love
yeah.
their work,
Episode-
but seriously.
Let's move on.
Episode 7. Love your hair. Hope you win. Episode 7. Let he who is without sin. A stormy vacation on Risa is the result of Worf's distrust of Dax, and and his abetment of a man who wants to impose traditional values on the pleasure planet. This is both accurate and horribly wrong all at the same time. So yes, the stormy vacation is the result of Worf's distrust of Dax. No, not really. Like, that had nothing to do with anything, but Worf being a sanctimonious buzzkill certainly did. And then they attempt to win us over by saying that Worf, like, oops, accidentally killed like a 10-year-old or something. Like, it's weird. It's not fun. It's why are there, like, these people are terrorists, and at the end of the episode they're just like, well, I hope you learned your lesson, kids, and off we go. Like, it's just super strange. So those are my thoughts, and I'm going to stop talking because I can trash this episode all day long.
This episode was on the list of not to be discussed for time, but I see
Whoops.
that there are thoughts percolating, and yeah, we're going to talk about it. Let's go to Krista, but remember, for time.
Yes, I understand. All right, 2 things. One, missed opportunity having Worf in swim trunks, but just wearing the House of Moog's stash. Missed opportunity. And 2, I am curious how they're presenting they're approaching the Dax Worf relationship entirely different from everyone else's relationships. Everyone else's relationships, they're fleshing out, they're doing the push and pull, they're doing the slow burn, and they're showing more than telling. And with Dax and Worf, it's just, yeah, we get busy, we break some bones, yippee-ki-yay, now we're going to Risa, and it's more tell than show. And so for me, throughout the seasons since Worf's introduction, it's sort of been there, but it was hard to distinguish if it was a love interest or if it was just Curzon wanting to be around a Klingon on a regular basis or whatever. And my headcanon tells me that the reason why they've done this is because they predicated Jadzia's character so much on referencing Curzon that I think, irrational as it may seem, they feared that it might undermine the masculinity of Klingons and Worf if they showed this Jadzia thing. It's out there, but there's a huge difference from the way they're approaching that relationship, presenting it to the audience, than the way they've approached every other relationship, including Jake with the Dabo girl. That even got more of a build than this one.
Will, you were going to say some things?
I have 2 things to say. One, Worf is a fucking piece of shit, and Jadzia wouldn't have died if it wasn't for him. I will stand by that forever, that he is the reason she is dead. And number 2, Blanche's gay brother from the Golden Girls, this is why gays can't be in politics, because they become George Santos. So that's all I have to say about that. It was a joke.
Yeah. No.
Blanche's gay brother.
It's
I watched it, I'm just like, oh, it's Blanche's gay brother. Like, I can't think of it.
It's
He's like
Doug.
this tyrant.
It's the same
yeah,
reason. It's the same reason Pete Buttigieg had to be Secretary of Transportation, but not president.
Yeah. They're like, oh no, we can't.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Fuck Worf. And this episode was like for Worf being as stilted as he is. This episode was especially stilted. Even even that lovely compliment he paid her about her being the most beautiful thing he's ever seen until, or the
Which
nebula
is
was the most beautiful
bullshit
thing.
with
Until,
Vanessa Williams on the scene. Fuck that.
yes.
The only redeeming thing about this episode is the appearance of Vanessa Williams.
But like everything, like he wanted to control her. He wanted her to be his version of what a Klingon spouse should be. And as we have discussed many times, Worf was wrong about Klingon culture more often than he was right. He had this idealized idea of what Klingon culture was, and every time he gets smacked in the face with reality, like,
he blames the person smacking him.
Yes.
Every time he gets smacked, he blames the person smacking him.
I mean, I can understand her being attracted to him because he's sure. One of those like uber control guys. And there are some women that are attracted to having guys like that lose control, break bones, whatever. And I get it. I'm just not behind the pairing at all. It's irritating. He's irritating.
Do you mean the two of them or his two penises?
All three.
When you said the pairing, I got
two penises, all the group.
And with that, let's see those thumbs.
Boo.
Boo.
Like Anna Nicole Smith and Polenta, we didn't like it.
All right, let's speed this up.
That is a reference, Trev.
And you got it too.
I got it too, but
I don't like it.
Because I'm a gay of a certain age. Damn.
Episode 8, Things Past. After losing consciousness in the runabout, because apparently there's only one according to Google, Sisko, Odo, Dax, and Garak awake in the past on Terok Nor, where they are to be executed for an attempt on Gul Dukat's life. This is weird, and it was pleasant the first time, and ever since then has just been weirder and weirder for me. But I'll let you guys talk about it or skip over it depending on what we're doing.
Who has thoughts that they would want to share? Let me see a signal of a sort, a sarcastic Vulcan salute. Seeing none, we will proceed to vote. This is an interesting tidbit on Odo's backstory, but yeah.
I can't count. It's a tie. Moving on. Episode 9, The Ascent. Again with the runabout. I'm just going to change it. When a runabout crashes on a barren planet, the freezing temperature.
You care about is hilarious.
Girl, listen. Articles are important. When a runabout crashes on a barren planet, the freezing temperature and lack of amenities.
Yes.
There's no hotel.
It's a hotel.
Yeah, that's how I feel about my apartment. The lack of amenities up on this frozen mountain.
What do you mean I can't get a massage?
When's cocktail hour on
this turn down
planet?
Service is terrible.
I have to park my own crashed runabout. It is the runabout after all. Anyway, the lack of amenities and turn down service induce Odo and Quark to get along or die.
Which they do neither. They do neither. Let's see those thumbs. They don't get along, but they also don't die. Let's see those thumbs.
I like a Quark and Odo episode. It was fun.
I agree with all the words that Krista's unable to utter right now. The mere thought of this episode. That's I'm right there with you, girl. Moving on. Episode 10, Rapture. Oh, God. A shock Sisko receives when the holosuite system shorts gives him psychic insight to a lost Bajoran city. Okay, so what actually happens is Sisko is injured and starts having visions related to a lost Bajoran city. Also, this is the first time we get new uniforms. So congrats DS9 on your first contact uniforms. But this is a deep dive emissary episode that I'm quite fond of, so I'm going to stop because I'll just keep talking about it. What do y'all think?
Give me a signal if you've got thoughts on this episode. Ken?
I agree. I actually just watched it just before the Salon today to refresh. And I thought that it was really a very fine episode. It was, like you said, Trev, a deep dive into Faith, into the emissary. It's always interesting, whenever you have Kai Wynn come on and be very Kai Wynn. I mean, Louise Fletcher was one of the best guest stars DS9 had through its run, recurring characters through its run, and here she's all for it. This is again one of those episodes though where it's like, okay, Bajor is signing to join the Federation, which was a really big deal for Jean-Luc Picard. You would think that in the signing ceremony of all the Starfleet personnel, you would potentially have Jean-Luc Picard or some sort of line that says, too bad Jean-Luc Picard can't be here. That's the only negative I have in it. But overall, I think it was a really very strong episode and a very strong Jake episode too. Very, very powerful moment in sickbay with Jake.
Why would Picard be there?
Because it was established from the first episode of Deep Space Nine and multiple episodes of TNG, the Ensign Row episodes, that Bajor and bringing Bajor into the Federation was very important to Captain Picard.
Don't you remember Ro Laren was his adopted daughter that he loved terribly?
I do remember that.
All right, we're setting off a few inadvertent
Bajoran language.
I will argue with Ken later.
To filtrate his anger about her leaving.
He has that line in Emissary. I am a strong proponent of their petition to join the Federation.
I'm sure there are other stronger proponents that outrank a captain who aren't in command of a ship that is probably very busy.
Let's see those thumbs.
That's not later, Trev. That's not
Rapture.
That was me arguing with Stan about arguing with you.
It's a full thumb up.
It's a full thumb up. So here it comes. This is a very important episode and quite possibly the shittiest description of any ever. It's fabulous.
For this one?
Ready? Here we go. Episode 11, The Darkness and the Light. An assassin targets her resistance colleagues, then captures Kira. That's the description.
I love that.
That's a crime.
It's heinous.
Perfect.
It's vaguely accurate, but it does such a disservice to such a fantastic episode that I'm going to stop talking now.
This is my favorite episode of the entire series and potentially the franchise. Every week you're going to hear me say it, and I'm going to say it again, but this is the episode that proves it. Nana Visitor is a gem. She is one of, if not the best actress in the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
That she does not have a bigger career is insane to me. The way that she led this entire episode is beautiful. You see every emotion from this character. Anger. There was one laugh line at a certain part. Her monologue on the bio bed after she just lost her friends, Pharrell and Lupiza, so powerful. This is the episode that I got to talk with Nana about at STLV, thanks to Trevor convincing me to take a walk randomly into the casino. And surprise, it's Nana Visitor. And she graciously offered to have a picture taken with us. And so Trevor went and got his phone, and I was able to tell her, my favorite episode is The Darkness and the Light. And I explained why. And the first thing she said was, well, Brian Fuller is just incredible. Like the fact that the first thing she said wasn't even, oh, thank you so much. It was the writer. She was crediting the writer of the episode, which just tells you anything you need to know about an actor when they're gracious in thanking who creates what they get to create from is just very special. This episode is excellent and wild. She takes someone else's child with her on this dangerous mission Like you get so much about this character from this, the passion that she has and what she's willing to go to seek justice.
That was a beautiful description, but the only thing that made me slightly chuckle was I convinced you to go for a walk in a casino, because convincing you to pretty much walk anywhere after you've had like 4 or 5 I don't remember which cocktail we were on, but you're at the bar. I was like, "Girl, do you order your drink at?" You're like, "No." I'm like, "Good, come here." You're like, "Okay." That was to convince me.
I'm very easily peer pressure is what pressure? Like I'm down to clown. Who else has thoughts on this one? Will?
I do. This is also my favorite episode of the season. I think it is. The writing is really tight, and Brian Fuller, I think, made the story, developed the story, and then Ronald D. Moore wrote the teleplay, which is the script. And I think the two of those men not being more involved in Star Trek is a crime, because anytime either one of them is involved, I think we get something that is uniquely Star Trek, but also something so universal. And I think this episode is a good example of it. And I think it resonates today. It'll resonate tomorrow. It resonated then. I think it's given to a lesser actress, as much as Na wants to credit the writers of this episode. I think that if given to anyone else on the series, I think it would have flopped. I think her acting is what really holds this very trepidatious script, in terms of like, it could be very melodramatic at times, and if given to someone else, but she roots it in something very real. And I think her performance is like it's frustrating that people aren't nominated for Emmys on this on like sci-fi shows like this, because I think sometimes your performance has to be even more. There has to be a certain level of truth to it and what you're seeing, and a lot of times you're seeing the same cave you saw 2 episodes ago, or a cardboard set, or like a tennis ball hanging from the ceiling, and you have to create a performance from virtually nothing. And it's a little frustrating to me sometimes that like people like Nana Visitor don't have a bigger career, like Stan said, or also have not been showered with awards for their performances, because this is like a true testament to her as an actress. And it's a great episode of Star Trek in Deep Space Nine, and it feels like the best episodes are always centered around Kira. It makes me kind of wish that she's a very central character, but like, what would that have been like if the show was driven by her more? Because I think she holds it so well. But anyway, that's it.
All right, let's see those thumbs. I know we've got a bunch more episodes that we're going to discuss, and if anybody says anything other than a thumbs up.
Like, would anyone like to give this a thumbs up or be wrong? Episode 12, The Begotten. Deep Space Nine celebrates the birth of the O'Brien baby. More on that in a moment. As Odo and Dr. Mora struggle to save the life of a changeling infant. The fact that they described this child as the O'Brien baby, when he was named after his surrogate mother. Like Kiriyoshi O'Brien is not the O'Brien baby. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Anyone else?
Who has thoughts? Give me a signal. Joanne?
Fun fact, this was when I was working for the church, and I preached a whole sermon centered around this. I mean, the parallels I think are obvious, right? I won't go into that. I could talk for years. But I don't know that it was one of my favorite, but I found the themes very compelling. So, fun fact, back when I went to church, which I don't anymore.
Kiriyoshi O'Brien is one of the characters I would love to see reemerge in something. Don't care what. Show up. Yeah. Would love to see it. Thumbs?
I thought sorry. One thing. Sorry, I was just gonna say the A and the B story being so parallel. It was done beautifully in this episode. I also thought that I'm a little torn about the ending with Kira, only because it's a bit of a trope with women characters in media that, of course, they want to have kids, but I do like that they made it about how this experience changed her. Like she was like, I never wanted a baby, and now like being pregnant does have an impact. So like it felt very natural and earned. It wasn't just like a male writer thinking, well, of course this woman wants to have babies with her big strong man. But the ending where she's dealing with, I've had this birth, but the baby's not mine. And Odo has lost this changeling, but also gained his abilities again, is just a really, really beautiful juxtaposition.
It's also fun that they both lost something and both gained something, but each of them is only really experiencing the opposite.
Krista?
I think it's kind of interesting coming on the heels of the one where her previous team is all being annihilated, and with the death of all of those people, then giving birth, she's given birth. She said goodbye to her past family. She's now saying hello to her new family, that she's a part of this now, and she helped to make this happen. And so I think in terms of where she's going as a character, it's not so much looking behind anymore. There aren't those anchors anymore. And unfortunately, they were all taken away in bad ways, but they aren't there kind of hanging. And now she's fully moving forward. And so I thought that was an interesting way to sort of present that back to back. Also, great birth. I mean, talk about easy. It's like breathe twice and sneeze and you're done.
Yeah, the Bajoran seemed lucky in the pregnancy department.
It's like, wow, go.
Gestate for 5 months and calm the fuck down. That's basically
I like play some harmony bowls and we're good to go.
And a fun, creative way of giving Odo his abilities back.
Yeah,
it involved some sort of the founders forgive me now, which I thought was cool. Thumbs. Yay!
I don't think the founders forgave him.
No, I'm saying I'm glad that it wasn't
Okay.
because
Right.
that would have like really annoyed me, where it was like you must pay for exactly 12 weeks. Like
Yeah.
Episode 13, For the Uniform. After being humiliated in his quest to capture his traitorous former security chief, Michael Eddington, Sisko realizes he himself must think like a rogue. Also, maybe commit some horrible crimes.
and become a war criminal. Yes.
Potato. This one for me, I don't enjoy Eddington, and I don't enjoy the whole Eddington bit. I don't enjoy I'm obsessed with Les Miserables. Like, why? Why are you obsessed with Les Miserables? Like, it's just weird.
Well, he stole replicators, so it's his version of bread, and
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for filling that blank in for me.
Sorry.
Eddington he's a disagreeable character, but I have to hand it to the actor who played him. He executed it quite well to be widely disliked. And I found in the coming, if I'm not mistaken, there's another episode with him in it, in which the interplay between the two of them. I'm always kind of a fan of watching two psychologies, two internal pathologies kind of knock heads, and one better the other. That's why I like the Garrick and Odo scenes, because they're constantly playing this mental chess, and that it was reduced to sort of Les Mis, that's, I guess, I didn't think that was necessary to get the point of what was happening. And I didn't like they went with Les Mis on this one instead of, Moby Dick in First Contact. It's like you don't necessarily have to make the literary reference. If you're writing well, it's self-evident. It's sort of like a king announcing their king when they walk into the room. It's either there or it's not. And I thought that they both pulled that off quite well without that added egg, if you will. But I like the character. I mean, I don't want to have dinner with the guy, but I like the character in terms of like variety. He's a man on a mission, and he believes in what he's doing. He's unapologetic about it. He's very clear about how he feels, and he's fucking with a guy who is, you know, seriously Starfleet. And sometimes it takes that kind of poking to make you question what you're doing or feel even more secure about what you're doing. And I thought the nuance was necessary, because for the uniform, so you do this because you put the uniform on, or do you do this because these are beliefs that you share and you hold deeply? And that was the poking. My beliefs are no different. I hold them as strongly as you do. They just don't align with yours. And, you know, our objectives are the same. They're just directed at different ends.
And I agree with Joel in the chat. The Maquis needed more exploration. It's wild we didn't get more of it in Voyager, given they ended up making up a good chunk of the crew. But we'll get there when we get to the Voyager Thumb War after Discovery or whenever we do that. Yeah, the Les Mis of it all, like if they had referenced it, but it's like, I'm going to reference this, then I'm going to transmit the book to you, and then you're going to have a discussion about it with Jadzia, and then I'm going to mention it again. It's like, we get it. We get it. Let's get those thumbs. Will, did you want to say something real quick? I didn't mean to.
I did. I just quickly, I've never felt like Sisko was a character who was so entrenched and like engrossed in Starfleet. Like I felt like he had a lot of other things going for him. Like he has his son and like being the emissary and these other things that I feel like he has a heart for. Like if you would have switched this out with Picard, I would have bought it more. I just don't think his kind of like insanity around Eddington doesn't make any sense to me, because I don't see him as someone who takes the mantle of Starfleet to be as serious as other characters we've come across. Like I didn't end up buying it, and like I just went, what? Okay, like
Yeah.
I get that this guy betrayed you, but it doesn't seem like he's doing anything that really, like, if it was someone who was like kind of like, oh, you're stealing replicators, okay, like it's for food, like you can't use a replicator to make it, what, you know, like it didn't seem logical to me. It just seemed like they need to wrap up this Eddington shit, which is fine, but like, and that the Maquis didn't really have an explanation. It just, there wasn't enough stakes to it. It just felt like there was all of this heightened emotion and thought, this kind of fanaticism and kind of rampant craziness around this character, but like it didn't seem earned. It didn't seem like he had been stewing on this for a while. Like it could have been seeded more. I don't know. I watched this episode and I just went, all right, well, you know, Sisko's really down for committing, you know, he's down to commit a war crime apparently a couple of times, but like considering we get an episode later in the show that really tests his morals, I felt like this kind of was almost unnecessary. But
Yeah, making it
I
about
don't know.
betraying his uniform versus betraying me, like it could have been built a little on,
Like if
on more
Eddington
solid
was his
foundation.
friend, like if he
Yeah.
knew Eddington for a long time, or they served on something, or like he was really close with him and then he betrays him like this, that would make more sense. But
Like
because it was a
Hudson.
betrayal
It
of
was another
Starfleet in the
Hudson.
uniform,
Yeah.
like how many times was he willing to give it up? Like, I mean, I never thought of Sisko as a character who was so, his identity was wrapped in being in Starfleet. Like if we had this kind of episode in Cisco as Picard, maybe I would have bought it more. It just doesn't seem like his life is as entrenched in Starfleet as other characters we have seen. So it just seemed a little like, I get what they were doing. I found on this rewatch, I was just kind of like, oh, this is kind of, it just rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know. It just rubbed me the wrong way.
There were two big Michael Eddington misses, and it was not having, when he's first assigned to DS9, having Ben walk in and be like, Michael, and you
Yeah.
realize that Eddington was an Lieutenant JG on the Saratoga. Like they go back, they've got some sort of past, they've got a connection, and then in the episode where Eddington turned, they piece it all together, but it's too late. He's already pulled off his plan by realizing that Eddington grew up on a colony in the DMZ. That there was some
Yeah.
sort of, historical conflict between he and the Cardassians, and of course he's going to be loyal to the Maquis. Like that, those two pieces would have made this episode a thumbs up for me. But instead, I agree with you. Why is he so impassioned by this? Because it just seems like a
it should have been
weird revenge
personal.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
it
feel like
and
it
they're
wasn't
playing
personal
it
because
that way.
it wasn't personal because it was a friend betraying him. It was someone who really was tertiary of
Yes.
offending his job. Like,
Yeah.
bitch, you're in the Space Navy. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, there's so much more shit you got going on. Like, you're the fucking religious leader for an entire planet. Like,
Yeah.
like you speak to fucking non-corporeal aliens from another dimension. Like
It's like being
why
mad
are
at
you so
somebody who
wrapped?
was fired for embezzling. Like, it's not your budget, it's not your money.
Who fucking cares? Like, oh, you're
Right.
so wrapped up in this weird wool uniform you're wearing. Like, fucking give it up, bro. I don't
It
know.
probably
It
would have
was,
been more appropriate for Worf, I think. But
yeah. I
like
feel like
Worf
it would have
would've
been better for
gone,
anybody. Yeah, anyone
know?
else. Like, Worf
Yeah.
would have been great too. Like, because there's an honor thing involved in that. But like,
Right.
but
And
how
the
many times is
uniform is
Worf ready
kind of
to give
all
it
Worf
up?
has, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Period.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
that would make
It's just
sense. But it was very out of
once I
character. I
dug
agree.
deeper on this, once I dug deeper on this, I went, there's nothing here. The soil wasn't fertile. Like it just didn't ring true to me in any way, really. End of rant. Thumbs down.
All right, let's go to the next.
Moving on to two episodes that should be combined, so I'm not combine them. Episode 14 and 15, In Purgatory's Shadow and By Inferno's Light. In order to ward off a Dominion invasion, Cisco must close the wormhole, leaving Worf and Garak stranded in a Jem'Hadar internment camp on the other side. The Klingons join the Federation's fight against the Dominion as Gul Dukat reveals his self-serving allegiance.
Was that both episodes?
That's the two combined, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Bashir reveal in this one. And the Cardassian dominion of it all.
Yeah, two big shocks.
Yeah. Well, and Garak and Tane. I think this was a very strong two-parter. And again, this is one of the mythology episodes, like I talked about last week. This one really jumps the story forward in a very big way by realigning whole factions, and I think that it's setting up for really what takes us through essentially the rest of the show, the rest of the series. And I think it's just a very, very strong character moments. The Bashir shock. I still am not entirely clear. I know we talked about this before. How many episodes was Bashir a changeling? So I just don't know. He said he's been captured a month ago, but I don't know when exactly that would have been. But and then
we found that out, didn't we?
Bringing Martok back. Yeah, I think we may have. We talked about that, but I don't know if we ever came up with a final answer on that. Is that your final answer? But yeah, I think it was a very good two-parter. Game-changing. Two very big game-changing episodes.
Yeah, apparently to lure me into a two-parter, you can't call it part one and part two. As long as you don't do that, I'm typically on board. But yeah, I missed you're absolutely right in calling me out. I missed the big Tane and Garak reveal, which is huge.
My headcanon is going to be this: Bashir went to that conference, and it was a different uniform for that conference. Will disappeared because he hates headcanon. Or he's peeing. Who else has
No, I
thoughts?
hate headcanon. Goodbye. I'm leaving this
Or-
salon forever. Fuck you
or
and your
both.
headcanon.
Forever.
No, I
He
need
hates
more
headcanon
wine.
so much it made him tingle.
He needs more wine.
More wine.
Because in the darkness and the light, they are in the new uniform. So, which would mean that a changeling delivered the baby, gave her herbs, unless my headcanon of his conference uniform was the old one. Maybe he took his go bag and had the old uniform in it. He didn't pack new. Blah.
Nope,
Headcanon.
Kiryoshi was delivered by a changeling. Sorry.
Probably.
Well, no, technically Kiryoshi was delivered by a Bajoran.
Oh, that's
midwife?
right. Yeah.
Or whatever
Yeah,
Bajoran
he had
delivery people
other
are called.
surgeries to do.
Midwife might be the word.
Who else has
I said
thoughts
a Bajoran
on
midwife, but I'm
these
not sure.
2 episodes? William.
I'll be quick, I promise. This is the episode where I felt like DS9 finally became president. I felt like they really. This is where the rest of thank you for laughing at that, Stan. Where I felt like the show was like it felt like it finally clicked into the final stretch of this show. Like it felt like it kind of locked in and shifted gears to the rest of this, because watching it I went, oh shit, this is like, it felt like we're now on a trajectory towards the end of the show. And like me and the actor who played Garrick share a birthday, so that's all you need to know about that. But no, I
Arizona
great
Statehood
episode.
Day.
We do. We
That
have the
is like-
same birthday.
It's the most poetic thing, actually.
Yeah, I mean, if I
As
was to
the
be
Garrick
character
of the
on Star Trek,
Salon,
it'd be
yes.
Garrick. I am the I am the Taylor, maybe spy of the show, of the Salon, for sure. But yeah, no, I love this episode. It's one of the ones that I remember from DS9. Like I if I think about this show, for some reason I think about these 2 episodes, and like the one that I always end up seeing, and the one where Odo kills the changeling. But this is one of them.
Yeah, and Worf doesn't suck completely in this episode. Like,
No,
His-
he's actually
his-
good in it. He's actually
yeah, his
good in it.
Worfness makes sense here.
Right. I mean, I did study costume design in college, Joel. Yeah, he's actually like tolerable, because he's like using that the anti-Klingonness of his Klingonness to like do some good for other people.
I will not yield. Let's see those thumbs.
We liked him. We really liked him.
All right, now a silly one.
Okay.
The whiplash of these episodes sometimes is hilarious.
Dr. Bashir, I presume? Dr. Zimmerman chooses Bashir as the model for the holographic doctor program. That's not at all what it's called. Unaware that it will cause Bashir anguish and his father sacrifice. That's what the Google said.
I love the placement of this episode so much. You were kidnapped for a month. You were replaced by a changeling. You get back.
Now we're sending your dad to prison.
Yeah, we're gonna immortalize you. And whoops, just kidding. You're an augment, a dirty augment. And your dad's going to prison.
Yeah.
Who has thoughts to share?
I do.
Trevor, kick us off.
Sorry, just because I watched this one very recently, and I'm so angered at the treatment of Amshad Bashir. She's literally just the wife and the mom, and I'm like, what? Did she have a job? Has she ever done anything other than raised Jules? Like what? Like she just follows Richard around and is like, oh, like I'm all for Richard reinventing himself and doing different jobs. Like whatever the fuck he wants to do is fine, but Mrs. Bashir is literally just reduced to Mrs. Bashir. Like she's not interesting. She doesn't have any sort of background or 3 dimension to her. She's just sad when Julian becomes upset about the fact that his augments have been revealed, and she does do a pretty good job of, hey kid, screw you, it was painful for us and that's why we did this for you, to give you an advantage. Like she has like a single line of dialogue that is a little like, okay, check yourself, Julian, for like a split second. But for the rest of it, I'm just annoyed the entire episode that his mother is depicted as just a person that follows his father around.
Krista, you had your hand.
This episode, aside from my so-called life of it all, it was angst-ridden and all of that, but it helped to make sense of the attachment that he had with I think it was in the second season, maybe, where the woman that floated and she had to have like a weight suit on to keep her on the ground. And it was so important to him to make her better, to fix this thing. And so it kind of, for me, it called back to that. But really, this one just struck me as the seed, not at the time, but now I've watched through season 6. It makes an episode in season 6 make more sense when he encounters more people like himself, and what happens when that goes on. But I thought it was an interesting examination of what kids kind of do now. Like, do they spin around in circles until they fall, or are they at 3 years old, learning the 4th of 5 intended languages? It's like, what is enough? And so I thought that was an interesting way because parents do it to get their kids forward. And that's clearly what these parents were trying to do. And he was looking at it like it wasn't any good. And it also explained when he could have been valedictorian, but he missed a question on purpose. There were lots of little buildups to this one that explained why he sort of self-sabotaged himself, because I think he feels like he never earned any of it. Also, he was in a prison for a month just prior to this, and not even on the ship. So I think it explains a lot of his overreaching, not really feeling like he's earned what he's earned, and his discomfort with his life in general, because he doesn't feel it's authentic. It's not really his, it's augmented. So it's not necessarily something that he had anything to do with.
Joanne, did I see a hand from you?
No.
Well, then we'll go to Ken.
So I think this is, and maybe I'm wrong again, but I think this is the first time that, we've seen augments discussed a lot in Star Trek through the years, but this, I think, is the first time since Khan, in the actual timeline of the production of the show, where you really focus on another augment. They do a lot more with it later on, and with the Enterprise, and certainly with Strange New Worlds and all that stuff. But this, they're making references to the eugenics wars and to Khan and all that. And it's interesting that Star Trek has a history with genetic engineering, and they finally get around to doing what I think is the right thing. In some respects, this is a jump off, in a way, from The Measure of a Man, or A Measure of a Man, on The Next Generation, where Data is put on trial for whether he's sentient or not. So I just wanted to comment that is interesting, because now that we've lived through lots and lots of Star Trek since then, this is the first time that Star Trek was tackling anything like augments or eugenics since Space Seed and the Wrath of Khan, and it was an interesting moving the idea forward.
All right, let's see those thumbs.
All right, I tried, y'all. I tried, but it's a sideways. Episode 17, A Simple Investigation. Sorry, I fell asleep just like I did during the episode. Odo falls in love with a woman searching for information that ultimately will endanger her life and make their relationship impossible, and I don't care. Anyone else have feelings about this?
Jimmy
episode?
crack
Let-
corn. It's a
Let's
Jimmy
see the
crack corn
thumbs.
episode.
We're breezing past this dud.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Boo! It's bad. It's a
It's-
bad
it's-
one.
Yeah, and the actress is
Odo
lovely,
learns how to
so-
fuck. End
Yeah.
of episode.
This was like season 2. Like it doesn't fit in this
It's-
season.
Yeah, it doesn't read as a season. It's just like Odo discovers he has a penis. Like, who fucking cares? I'm surprised
They
the
did have a-
changelings gave him one. Like, it should have just been like he opens his pants and it's just like a flat, like a Ken doll, and she's like, "What do I do with it?" He goes, "I don't know." Like, he's like, "I don't know what to do with it."
Yeah,
Like, that's
but
what I
now-
would love to see. Like,
but now
nothing
he
down
knows-
there.
Now he
Okay,
knows.
I
what
said
to
we were
do.
going to breeze past this one, and here we are
Sorry.
discussing
I
it.
know.
But now he
There
knows
was-
what to do. So when he meets up with the founder woman, and she's like, "So that's what
When
humans
he has
do."
sex with Kira, he becomes the Aurora Borealis. It's not like he's
Right, but
using
we haven't
anything.
seen that part yet. We've only
We're
seen the
skipping
part-
ahead.
I know. Okay, sorry.
Who
knew
it's
that-
really funny.
Who knew that Odo can make himself into a dildo would make you guys so excited?
Let's get back to
It's just weird. Boo.
Episode
Let's
18.
let's get back to the business of the salon.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Segue.
I see what you're doing.
Segue.
This is the bit. What are you talking about? This is the business of the salon.
It kind
you
of is.
fucking
It
idiot.
kind
We're
of is.
talking
This
about
is it.
Yeah,
dick.
it kind of is.
It
Yeah.
is.
This is why I do
Holy
this every
fucking
week, so I can say
business.
gay shit about Star Trek.
The thing that I love
Covers
about this,
butt stuff. Next
the
episode.
thing that I love about this moment is this is a little peek behind the curtain for the audience. Every week I say, "Hey, let's try not to talk over each other this week." The fun thing about this moment is none of it will come through in the clips.
That's
Oh
When I
right.
try to
God,
clip it
no.
tomorrow, none of it will be heard.
Which kind of makes it business as usual. Episode 18. Quark becomes involved in his cousin Gala's arms dealing business until a rare attack of conscience puts him in a bind. I don't like it.
This is also one we're gonna breeze past and just vote. I'm gonna give it a thumbs up, mainly for Haggith, because the queer coding of Haggith was beautiful.
Wait, I can't add. I don't know what that was. So it's 2 downs, 3 downs, 2 sideways, and an up. So that's a sideways. Ugh. We tried, y'all. Okay, we're getting back on track slightly in terms of episodes being somewhat decent. Ties of Blood and Water. Despite remnants of pain and a revelation of betrayal, Kira tends to the dying Cardassian dissident to Kenny Gamor. I fucking love this episode. Y'all feel free to be wrong.
And who give me a hand signal if you have thoughts on this episode. William. Just
I'm
giving
just doing thumbs up. This episode, I legitimately cried. Like,
Yes.
having gone through the show week to week, it made me tear up. This is incredible. It's an incredible episode. Incredible arc for Kira. Just if we have to have something that's more than a thumbs up, like a golden buzzer or a shoot or something. I need a yeah. Lasers.
It's a
or
wacky
something.
wormhole.
Uh,
It's a wacky
Yeah,
laser
there we
thumb-
go. Oh, it's not. No,
It's not happening. Still.
anyway, no, it's an amazing episode, and
No.
it's carried by a brilliant performance by Nana Visitor. And when we see her in person in STLV, I'm gonna probably cry like Stan. Anyway,
You're gonna pat her
Yeah.
on the head. Is that what you're gonna do?
Yes.
no, I'm gonna be like, girl, no, I'm gonna be like, Nana, let's talk about your acting. I'm such a nerd for acting. I'm gonna ask her about it. Anyway,
And
Yes.
she'll be like, "These guys again."
Let's see
Like,
those
these
thumbs.
faggots. Yeah.
That's the goal, is to have her both delighted and terrified to see us again.
Thumbs, 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 thumbs.
It's an up.
All right.
Awesome. We're tripping and stumbling a little bit into Ferengi love songs, in my opinion, just my opinion. Quark returns to Ferenginar for maternal support, finds his mother's lover is Grand Nagus Zek, and promptly uses their relationship to regain his license. Friendships can be fun. I don't love this one, but I love
this one. You're wrong, Trevor, but that's okay.
There's no banner that says Trevor's wrong.
That's correct. Let me everybody just pause while I make that banner.
We only have an hour.
That's for everyone pause in silence while so yes, Andrea Martin was delightful in the first iteration of Moogie. I also love this actress. May she rest in peace. Andrea did not enjoy the makeup, although they did make her do like body makeup as well. Maybe if it was just the headpiece, it wouldn't have been as bad. But I do love this episode. I hate Zek. He's annoying as hell, but like Worf and Jadzia, he becomes more interesting with a woman. And like, I do not like a woman being used as a plot device for a man. But in this particular case, Moogie being the badass that she is, just delightful. Thumbs.
All right. It's still an up. I'm begrudgingly clicking the up in my drop down.
Fine. This next one we're just going to breeze past, just FYI.
All right, moving on. No, I'm kidding. Episode 21, Soldiers of the Empire. As first officer on a mission to search for a missing Klingon vessel, Worf plans a risky maneuver when he realizes General Martok is too afraid to lead. I didn't love what this episode did to Martok, and I don't love that they just needed to make Worf a first officer of something. Like, you made up a title for him, make him do the job. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm begrudgingly giving it a sideways. There were some interesting things here. Martok's PTSD was something interesting to explore. I'm not saying they did a great job of it, but yeah.
But it was interesting. It was interesting to give Martok. It's another supporting character that just is really. I mean, they can't say enough about DS9 supporting characters. They're just fantastic.
Episode 22, Children of Time. The investigation of a planet surrounded by an energy barrier reveals a colony founded by the Defiant crew members when they... I'm going to start that one over again. The investigation of a planet surrounded by an energy barrier reveals a colony founded by the Defiant crew members when the barrier caused them to crash 200 years in the past. I don't always love a timey-wimey episode, but I kind of love this one.
I agree. I think this is a fantastic episode. It's a very emotional episode. I think Renee does an amazing job as future Odo.
Mm-hmm.
It's another episode that sort of hints at things, right? It hints at the relationship that's to come with Odo and Kira. It's an amazing Kira episode. I think Nana, as she always does, is fantastic with this. And I actually think that the two Daxes going up against each other, and then Benjamin's relationship with both Daxes in this situation is just really great. I also think that the through line of O'Brien coming to terms with maybe they do need to save these people. I think all of our main cast members have a lot of great arcs in this episode.
And it's the question they all ask too. I mean, you get into this business, you work for this organization, and how many of us don't, take a job and think, well, what if I had done something different? And they actually get to experience something else. And, you can kind of understand the pull of the simplicity of it. We just want to stay here. We don't want to go back to all of this shit, and we certainly don't want to be responsible for the deaths of all of them. So, I mean, super conundrums. It was a great. I cried on this one. I did cry. I was sad.
Also, one other aside. I agree with you, Krista. I also thought it was really cool and sort of a nice little homage that one of the Klingon boys was basically in TOS Klingon makeup, which I thought was pretty cool.
Fun bit of trivia, the only fanfic I've ever written actually centers on this planet. So
an erotic
fanfic.
It's
an erotic story of turgid members.
Yeah.
The sons of Moog.
It's
She
his
grasped his turgid member.
Where is it? Dig it up. Is it on a site? Let's read it. That should be a salon.
That should be a salon.
Should we just read Trev's bad
just do a
fanfic?
thumb war on that.
Honestly, I live. Like, can we
Yes.
do it? Do you have it? Can we read it?
There's nothing remotely sexual about it.
Oh well, that's not.
Not
fun.
until we get our hands on it.
Wait, we could make it very sexual. This could
Try
be a thing.
harder.
All right, we could make it. We could introduce the Odo the dildo and see where things go from there.
Wow.
There you go.
Oh,
This-
Oh God.
There were lots of Bashirs. That's why I don't understand. There were lots of Bashirs, they said.
Yeah.
Oh,
This episode is delightful. It asks a big question. Kira is incredible in it. Renee and slash Odo is incredible in it. I also really loved seeing the Bashir or the Cisco dynamic with Yedrin. The question he asks to prove I am who I say I am, and the look on Jadzia's face because she knows, just chef's kiss, delightful. But the hug at the end between them, like even just in like 2 or 3 days, the Cisco Dax friendship is an incredible one, and seeing that in this was beautiful. This is an interesting one of those what if scenarios where, like, if they were doing a what if they did make it happen? You know, what if Kira died? I would die, but beautiful. Let's see those thumbs.
The concept would have worked because it was similar to the concept of the Riker getting reflected back with Thomas Riker concept. So, you know,
Except it didn't work because he was lying.
right. Yeah, but that was the thematic was
Details.
something anyway.
Nice
Episode
try.
23 Episode 23. Motherfucker's back. Cisco must Blaze of Glory. Cisco must enlist the help of Starfleet trader Michael Eddington to locate the launch site of Maquis missiles aimed at Cardassia.
Boo. Skip.
This guy again.
I said that with more energy than this episode deserved.
Let's get to the fun tilt.
Oh, everybody tilt. We're on
Into,
Empok Nor, y'all.
fucking-
Everybody lean. Get your
I
Empok
love
Nor on.
Real quick before you read the description, like, it's just so silly to me in 3D space. Like, how do we make this space station different? Tilt it for the camera.
Tilt it.
So dumb. I love it. I love it.
It's
so
like
much.
it's like a Batman villain's lair, which are always
Mhm.
tilted as well.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Episode 24, Empok Nor. A foray to an abandoned is it really a foray? A foray to an abandoned Cardassian space station for needed parts finds 2 Cardassians in stasis tubes and a drug that turns
I
Garak
need a
into
carburetor.
a killer.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I was 3 sentences from 3 words from finishing the sentence. Ken.
That's all right. I have to live up to my reputation. So
Let's go ahead and remember that mute button.
It's a drug that's going to turn Trevor into a killer. Anywho's, what did we think of Empok Nor, y'all?
Garrick did nothing wrong. Okay, thumbs. Let's do it.
I love a Garrick episode,
meh.
particularly a psychopathic Garrick.
Yes.
Isn't he always psychopathic?
No,
I was gonna say,
how
I don't
dare
think
you.
it did anything for him. He was like, oh,
Yeah, it was like
Especially
just like a
Sometimes he's
homosexual
just
to
sullen.
take like, it's just like a homosexual to like be like, oh, I was given this potion, now I get to be bad. Like that. It feels like he was already evil. He was just like, oh, I'm gonna lean into it now. That's
Yes.
very like.
Yeah, it's always like it's just below
I
the
felt
surface.
I felt represented. I felt seen. I felt heard. I felt touched. That was it. But no.
just let the moment exist.
Just let it sit there.
And now
Mhm.
Trevor is going to move us into the next episode.
As Stan used to so fondly say, everybody just sit on it for a minute. Episode 25, In the Cards. Jake and Nog's quest for a Willie Mays baseball card lands them in a scientist's mad experiment and a Jem'Hadar interrogation room. This one's really stupid. Just gonna say it.
It is stupid, but it's also a really I think from a Jake and Nog standpoint, I think it's a pretty good episode. I also think that it's cool to have the idea of a baseball card, and I just liked the hook of the baseball card, and I really think that Jake and Nog and the actors, of course, knocked it out of the park.
I mean, everything Sirach does is an A+ in my opinion, but it doesn't help or save this episode.
I liked the velvet matador painting.
You would have bid your gold press platinum for it.
I would have bid some gold press platinum on that. I also liked the super paranoia of everyone.
Mhm.
These kids are just trying to get this, and it's Willie Mays, so it's a valuable card, and they're just trying to get this card, and it just turns into this paranoid orgy of everybody like just thinking they're doing things that they aren't doing. And yeah, but I was like, next.
Yeah. There were some fun moments. Like, you accused the Kai of kidnapping, like, hilarious. The story he made up about being with DTI and Wei-Yun being like, I believe you. Your first story. Like, there were some cute moments in this ridiculous episode, but yeah, it's cute friendship. Thumbs? It's fine. Like, it's not getting a thumbs up because it's the best episode ever, but like, there was nothing wrong with this episode.
I legitimately do not remember it at all. I don't remember.
I just remember the weird tube, the tanning bed that the guy was sleeping in.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Entertainment chamber.
Episode 20. It entertains myself. Whatever gets your rocks off, sir. Episode 26, Call to Arms. As Jem'Hadar warships pour through the wormhole. Say that 10 times fast. Deep Space Nine takes defensive measures and prepares to surrender to Gul Dukat. I don't know, they were just surrendering to Gul Dukat, but yeah.
Excellent music.
Program Cisco 197. Who knew what that was till the very end?
I liked all the ship shots.
I like
the fans of
your
ship porn.
gesture for ship shot.
It was good ship porn.
The one thing I know about this episode is when they transitioned from physical models to digital. So that's why you see all of this really cool ship porn that's happening, because they finally moved away from. They felt that the digital stuff was able to handle the kind of stuff they were looking for in terms of this. I don't know how they would have done the Dominion War with physical models, but getting this to now be digital, I think you see it in this episode a lot.
It didn't help Worf hit his ships, though.
Nothing will help that man. Does he need
that fucker
glasses?
was
I want to ask, because like, does he need glasses? Like, he can't see nothing. Like, what are you shooting at, bro? Like, damn.
Rednecks 5.
The best part of this one was
I'm allergic to Rednecks.
It made me pull up season 6 right away.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, I gotta go right into season 6.
Yeah, as a cliffhanger, this was I remember watching this and being like, oh my God, they abandoned the station. Like, this is where the show takes place. What the hell? It's wild.
The stakes are so high, but they're so believable. Like, I believe that they might not. I would have believed that they don't return to Deep Space Nine. Like, if that happened on TNG, I would have assumed they would have been back the next episode. This I would have assumed that this would have taken them half a season to get back. But
and it's a really good harkening back to, like, this is something that we we didn't see in Trek much at all until Deep Space Nine, harkening back to Rapture. Like, this is why the Bajorans couldn't join the Federation. The Locusts were the Jem'Hadar ships swarming over to Cardassia. The foreshadowing.
Yeah,
It's a nice.
they've done a great job of building the fact that this show doesn't hit a reset button. That which when we get to Voyager, that show really relies very heavily on that button. Like, it
slams
resets
it every week,
slams it every day, every episode. This one, I felt like they really didn't use it. Like, every episode, I felt like the whole series has led up to this moment. Do you feel this idea that there's a lot at stake here? And it's impressive for this show to have taken 5 seasons to get to this moment.
And it didn't get old, right? Like, they've been hinting at the Jem'Hadar being this big bad for forever, but it didn't feel like, okay, let's get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting also because, serialized television is all the rage now and is normal, right? But this was in the 90s, and it was in first run syndication, and it was a big gamble. It's one of the things that made Deep Space Nine potentially not as successful as it was because they didn't do the reset button all the time at the time. But now, because we're also used to this serialization in all of the shows today, that's why Deep Space Nine is having this gigantic resurgence, because it was way ahead of its time. And, more power to it for that.
It's a nice bookend because it ends with the 3 that were familiar with one another from the beginning. They were on the station originally, and those that came after are now going away. So it was a nice first episode and most recent episode bookends. But yeah, they hit that sweet spot on serialization and then throwing in some randos there every once in a while. But it's like, I call it like soft serialized. It's not, it's very soft. And it to me, ideal is that's the way to do it, instead of because with the thing that I noticed about DS9 versus like Picard 3, it was like this overlord bad thing. It was weighty. It was like, it was just going to be bad. Everything was dark. And with DS9, yes, they have 25 episodes and they can toss 2 or 3 to, nothingness, but it's never so dark. It doesn't lose its optimism. It doesn't lose its sort of hope. And the most recent ones, it's difficult to find the hope in there. It's difficult to find the optimism, and the way they do it in DS9, it's not so overwhelming.
Joanne, you've been suspiciously quiet. Do you have any final thoughts on this episode or this season?
No, this is one I liked this when I first saw it, but I appreciate it even more when we get to the resolution of it, because it does just call back all of the seeds that have been planted, I think, just really so beautifully in this season. And well, I won't give away what the resolution is, even though we've all seen it, right? But it builds up to a literal act of God, right? So it was really amazing. But this was one of my favorite episodes, because you really didn't know, especially at the time. I remember thinking, how are they going to get out of this, right? And I think that's what, kind of to Krista's point, what makes it so compelling, right? And that's why, it's because you don't know how it's going to be resolved. Unlike kind of TNG, there was always kind of a clear good and bad, right? But you didn't know how it was going to be resolved, and yet they still sort of persevered, right? They still kind of tried, even though they might end up on the losing side. Just compelling television. Yeah. Loved it.
There are also a lot of little things that they did in this episode, like the line about the shields holding, and wait a minute, and we've seen it before. Federation shields have been useless to these weapons, but now they're not, like we've learned, and so it's really setting up the war to be pretty cool. And we're gonna talk about it next week, y'all. Season 6 coming up next Thursday. Next Thursday, 6:30 p.m. right here on this channel. Trevor, do you want to give us the tally as we wrap ourselves up here?
We gotta vote on this one first, though.
Oh yes. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so it's a down for everybody, right? Based on that
Okay.
commentary.
Spoiler alert, I already put this one as an up just because I assume, like, as conversation was going, I'm like, no one's going to vote this one down. So
do you have an auto tally, or do you need to do some counting? Because I can do the programming note while that happens.
You can do your programming note, but it auto tallies and there's a pie chart.
Oh, do you want to share your screen?
Sure.
An HR goddess, y'all.
I want to
HR
see the
goddess.
pie chart.
Yeah.
Girl, we got pie charts.
Wow.
She's an HR. She's abusing that Microsoft Excel, honey. Abusing her.
It's got the most recent program.
I love this side of
Ooh,
Trent.
diva.
Tina Belcher.
The diva, yes. Give us your tallies. Give us your tallies.
Go full Tracy Flick.
13 thumbs ups. So half a season was thumbs up. 9 sideways and 4 down. You want the rest of it too?
It's pretty consistent.
It really is.
Consistent.
It really is. There were 4 problematic gay alerts. It's nice to feel problematic and homosexual again. There were no canon alerts, no Bev alerts. Sorry to our Lord and Savior Beverly Crusher.
Beverly would have done it different.
There would
do a Bev alert now.
We fixed it. There were 2 tosser alerts. And let's see, bonus points went to Jake the Nerd for very early on when we were talking about shipping. He shipped Harry Kim and Tom Paris in the comments, and I couldn't agree more. So I gave him 74,656 bonus points to honor the Voyager's registration number. 222 bonus points to Krista for clapping like a Bajoran early on. We got some Bajoran clapping early, and she didn't think I saw it, but I saw it. And so for the 2 of it all, she gets 222, and 1,000 bonus points to Benji in the comments for naming the Bajoran midwife the birthing Navark.
Yeah, the first one died gloriously, so they needed to use that title for something.
Exactly.
I love it.
So
yeah,
that was her title, and I love him for it. So there you go.
God.
Y'all, this was lovely as ever. Always a joyous part of my week. I want to thank everybody in the chat for joining us. I want to thank our speakers for being as lively as ever. A couple of quick programming notes. So you guessed it, next week we're talking about season 6, the following week season 7, and then we are going to start reviewing Star Trek Discovery to gear up for season 5, which launches with not 1 but 2 episodes on April 4th. So we'll be doing season 1 starting, I believe the Thursday that week is March 7th. So each season a week like this. We're TBD, but we're probably not doing like a thumb war. We're doing more of a discussion on like the season as a whole and each individual episode, because there are only 10. The slightly different format, but Trevor has a hand raised.
If you're remotely interested in what that format looks like, you can go back and watch our season 1 recap of Star Trek Prodigy. It will be similar to that, but probably slightly more animated and slightly more drunk, because we'll feel comfortable being intoxicated talking about an adult Star Trek show versus one that was aimed at children.
Yes. And also with, like, I liked it at the time. With time, season 1 especially, it's a lot better than people give it credit for. Like it's just very, very different. It is the most different Star Trek, and we're going to talk about it respectfully and honor it and I'm jazzed. So we'll see you all next week for season 6 of Deep Space Nine. Until then, I hope you all live long and prosper. Thanks, y'all. I didn't set it up. So
Look at now.
live long and prosper, y'all.
Bye.